recording this. So just a few ground rules as usual. Everyone please mute and use chat if you have questions. There will be time for Q&A also at the end. And so this is the opportunity, really just a follow-up from the meeting that we had last week. And now that we have the application out and the regulations out, and you had a chance, or could everyone please mute? And you've had a chance to absorb that information. This is the opportunity to not only get some updates from the PLCB and Representative Sterla, if he's made it on, but we wanted to give you progress on the ordinance that will likely pass on Friday, and then Cindy McCormick from the city can go over the application with you, and then again there'll be time for Q&A. So, Jeremy, we could start this slideshow.
Are you not seeing the slides, Marshall?
I'm not.
I'm seeing that they're shared. Does everyone else see them?
I can see them.
Oh, it's only me. Okay.
You may need
well,
to
everyone enjoy the show. Interesting. Huh. Okay. All right. Well, I can't see the slides, so but everyone else can, so that's the important piece. So is Representative Sterla with us?
This is Jim at Representative Sterla's office. I haven't gotten a hold of him, so we can skip over this part for now.
Okay. So why don't we move to Mike Vagoda from the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. Mike.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. So I don't know if Jeremy can advance the slide. What I'd like to share with you today, honestly, in follow-up to our conversation last week, is what hopefully most of you have been waiting for, which is guidelines from us as an agency on outdoor dining. Specifically, how you guys go about maybe adding areas that you don't currently have licensed. So this morning, 11 o'clock, the board approved a revised advisory notice 26. It's on the screen now. It is public. It's on our website. So here are the guidelines. This is going to allow you a pretty quick and dirty way of adding areas if you don't already have areas added. Just like we had stated last week, there's going to be an application you have to do. There is no fee associated with it. Okay. You're going to have to post for 30 days, but you're going to be given operating authority while that 30-day clock is ticking, because we don't want you to close down for another 30 days. That doesn't do anything for anybody. So to that end, you're doing the application with us. There'll be an acknowledgement page that you will need to print, okay, on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and hang that up in a conspicuous place. After the fact, we will mail you one of those orange placards that you're all familiar with, so you guys can properly hang that up. But the 30-day clock will start when that orange placard goes up, okay? To that end, one of the things that is important to this call, and one of the things we discussed last week, was municipal approval. So if you guys are going out into a public area, we are going to need the municipal approval. That can be as simple as a letter from the municipality. It doesn't have to be, it can be short and sweet. It really doesn't have to be any great opus of information. Licensee's information, the signature of the city of Lancaster, and that'll be sufficient. We're not going to be raking you guys over the coals for this. One of the questions that had come up last week was whether or not those that have pending extension applications for permanent extensions of premises can apply for this. They can. So what I advise you, if you have an application with us for a permanent extension, and that's in the pipeline, apply for this. We can do this concurrently, and that way, while we're actually going through our regular licensing process, which takes a little bit longer than a smile, you guys can still operate in the areas you want to operate in. Like I said, this is relatively fresh. The applications are live on our website through PLCB Plus. I haven't heard of any glitches yet, knock on wood. Although we are the LCB, I'm assuming we're going to have a glitch somewhere. It's just karma that way. That's really it in a nutshell. All the guidelines for social distancing and stuff that the governor's office had put out is attached to that. What I'm specifically addressing in Advisory Notice 26 with you folks is the ability to get your outdoor dining set up so you can sell alcohol outside legally. I know there will probably be a lot of questions. I'm happy to stay here and answer as many as I can and or get back to you as I have with a lot of other folks from last week. So with that, Marshall, I'll turn it back over to you guys.
Great. Are there any general questions right now for Mike before we move on to the ordinance?
See a question from Sam. They say, does this application apply if our outdoor area is already approved from prior years? In other words, we're using the same area, nothing new being requested.
So if you already have an outdoor area licensed by us, you are free to use it as is, as you've always been before COVID-19.
Got it.
If you need additional area or you don't have any outside area at all, this application is for you. It will run the length of the declaration. So if the governor's declaration runs to the 31st of December, this outdoor area would be covered under the temporary extension until the end of December.
Great, thank you.
All right, Mike, and you said you can stick around, correct?
Yeah, I'll be here. I'll be here till this is over to help you guys out.
All right, great. Excellent. Thank you, sir. Okay, Barry, we'll turn it over to you to give an update on where we are with the ordinance.
Thanks, Marshall. Really nothing further than what you indicated in the chat. First reading was held Monday evening. City Council has scheduled a special meeting at 8:30 a.m. on Friday morning to consider adoption of the ordinance. And we're optimistic that City Council will adopt it.
All right. So, all right, pretty straightforward. So, as Barry said, Friday morning, we're expecting it to pass. So, let's get ready. So, with that said, I'll turn it over to Kim and Cindy to walk through the application process and the regulations.
Okay, this is Cindy. I guess I'll start with it, and then Kim can please chime in with anything that you want to add. If we go to the next slide, I think you have the application. So the city has developed an application. There are instructions associated with it, and there are also draft rules and regulations that accompany it that will help guide you through what is required. If you want to go to the next slide, and the next one actually. So this is the application. It's just basically a one-page application with, I think the next page is just for signatures. The application is required, and we are asking everybody that's had cafe permits in the past to apply for the temporary application as well, because we want to make sure that we're identifying how many tables and chairs you can have in the area you are requesting. So the areas that you can request are sidewalk areas. The main thing to note with that is that we still need to maintain pedestrian access, so we're going to require 6 feet at least for the pedestrians to be able to pass. Sorry about that. The process is going to be that you could request an inspector to come out. You know, you can start to fill out the application. And then if you need any help with the application or you need help with the sketch, the inspector can come out and, you know, help you with all of that. So that's the first step in the process. The as I mentioned, it could be a sidewalk area. They'll go through and identify what any restrictions, if you're close to, you know, tree wells, you know, different things that you need to stay away from. They'll go over that with you in the inspection. In addition to sidewalks, we are allowing people to use what they call parklets, or using the parking space to identify an area for seating. I will say that if it is in a parking space, we're going to ask that you're going to need to provide a traffic rated barrier, so some kind of barrier to protect any patrons that are sitting in the parking space area from the adjacent travel lane. So that's the main thing that we're concerned about. At this time, we're not requiring that the parklet level be level with the sidewalk, but if you can make accommodations to allow, you know, handicapped access, that's great, but we are not requiring it for this temporary situation.
So Cindy, I've been getting questions about parklet being full-time, part-time, just on weekends, daily.
I'm going to say that, I mean, for the parklets, if you're going to bring out a traffic rated barrier, I'm guessing that it's not going to be very easy to move. So that I'm guessing that it would need to be full time. I mean, if you have the ability to get the barriers out of there and just do it on a certain day basis, that's okay. But that's going to be the main issue with the parklets.
So the requirements for the parklet almost dictate that it's on a full-time basis versus just a weekend basis.
That's what I'm saying, yes. And then to add, I'm sure the reason that people are inquiring with Larry is that if it is a metered space, you are required to pay for the parking for that meter, which is $10 a day for the 6 days a week.
But Cindy, just to be clear though, if people have the ability to move those barriers, they could do just weekends if they wanted to.
Correct, but if it's, if we're on a major road, those barriers need to be very heavy, so that's where the issue may come in. But yes, you are correct.
Okay.
And then the final option is to do, if you're, to do a street closure. We're talking about some streets, such as Market Street or other streets that maybe are not used that much for traffic. If we can make the accommodations for access to, everyone that needs to access that street, then we are willing to close the streets for you to use the street area adjacent to your facility. So those are the three main types of facilities that we're allowing. And as I said, this is the application. We are asking also for certificates of insurance. A hold harmless agreement needs to be signed. And if you're using anything adjacent, like at an adjacent property, maybe in front of an adjacent property owner, we would just need permission from them as well. You could go through the rest of the, I'm not sure if there was any more slides.
Cindy, let me just jump in real quick on that. And just recall as a follow-up to what Mike said, that while you can get a adjacent area for a sidewalk cafe license from a non-adjacent area for a sidewalk cafe license from us, you may not be able to serve alcohol in that area because it's not adjacent under the PLCB guidelines. You could serve food, but not alcohol.
Cindy, could you comment on the inspection period after you submit an application? How long is that going to take?
We've had all the applications we've received since Monday. We've had an inspector out today. I think, yeah, we've had like 8 applications and our inspectors have been out to all those locations. So we're trying to get there
Okay.
within a day.
I'm waiting on one, like our insurance certificate to come in, and then I was waiting to send that to you. So should I send everything else in just to keep the ball rolling?
Yeah, if you want, you can send it in so that we can
Okay.
get the inspection started.
Got it. Thank you.
Many of them have been signed and we have them. So when City Council, provided they pass it, will issue those. They will go out probably on Friday.
Are there any other questions?
There's a question from Tracy. If streets are closed for restaurants and cafes, will those business owners be responsible for any of the associated costs to shut down those streets?
Yeah, I mean, if you can work together with the various entities in that area, the city has some barriers that we can help provide related to street closures, but it's sort of on a case-by-case basis. We need to determine, what we have available. And just so you're also aware, we are looking at public dining areas where we may be looking at closing blocks of a street or something for a public dining area in which the city would provide tables and chairs for people to sit at and enjoy takeout food, but not, it wouldn't be served by any individual restaurants. But we're still evaluating options for that at this point. And that's not going to happen, this weekend for sure.
So Cindy, I think to clarify that question, so I think the difference is that businesses on a block come together and want to close that block. The costs associated with that, including meters, the barriers, if the city doesn't provide them, would be the responsibility of the businesses on that block. Is that correct? But if the boxes the city are looking at for the public dining, there would be no cost associated to the businesses on that block.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So, any other questions? This could be a pretty short meeting.
So Cindy, how are you determining when and if a whole city block could be closed?
Right now, we're just evaluating some lower volume streets that could be a possibility. We haven't fully vetted those yet, so we're just still evaluating. Right now we're just looking primarily in the downtown, just because of the concentration of restaurants. But there is also talk of trying to expand that maybe more out into the neighborhoods as well.
So what is the makeup of the applications you've gotten so far?
Primarily, well, I would say it's a mix of everything. We've gotten 8 or 10 applications, and it's been a little bit of everything at this point.
So from a timeline perspective, let's just categorize some as so say I looked at Joe's property, I gave the blessing for the sidewalk there. Kevin Flanagan's gonna get the email from you. He's approved. Is he ready to go for Friday, or what does he have? He still has steps that he has to take.
No, as long as we get all the forms in and everything, we can issue, like Kim mentioned, we're ready to issue licenses on Friday morning after it's approved by council.
So the physical layout that he has to do, do you have to give him approval as well before he starts serving at those outdoor tables?
No, once we give the license, we're leaving it up to the restaurants to, comply with the diagrams that we've come to an agreement on. We're also, sort of marking out, when the inspectors are out, marking out where those tables should be, so that that's, there isn't a lot of shuffling or anything after the fact.
So whatever out of the 7 or so applications, some of them can be ready to go on Friday.
Yes.
And then the parklets are obviously more detailed, intense construction.
Well, I mean, it's up to the applicant. If they can get that information, then, you know, if they can get all the requirements in place by, you know, have them ready. I guess, yeah, the thing is we're not allowing them to put anything in place prior to the approval. So yeah, it may take logistics, some time to get all that constructed, but.
There's a question for Kim regarding utensils and dishes. Are traditional dishes, in other words, non-disposable, permitted as long as they're sanitized?
Yes, they are permitted.
Thank you.
Napkins, cloth napkins.
I asked for clarification on that and didn't get that. I would say if they have the ability to wash them in hot water on premises, I would say yes. If not, disposable.
So Cindy, another question about the streets. As the city is looking at potential streets to be closed for public dining, you know, obviously there'd be some coordination with those property owners and businesses on that street in advance of that moving forward, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we would have to coordinate with all the people that would be affected.
All right. Any other questions? Yes, audience?
So I have one more. I have a portion of area that requires the sidewalk cafe permit, another portion that is on our property, patio on Queen Street. I mean, I'm assuming I don't have to do anything for the patio that's on our property that's already been licensed to the liquor board and all that. But I'm assuming maybe Kim is going to have to come out and just inspect all the seating. Is that kind of how how the Kim's inspection is going to work?
Yeah, Sam, I'll come by tomorrow.
Okay.
The Zoom meeting I was supposed to be on Friday at 2 o'clock. I missed.
Okay, I just want to. Okay, fair enough. I'll have my application in this afternoon.
Just as a reminder, I would also tell everyone to please look for recoverylancaster.com for information from the chamber about funding that could potentially assist with this. So that funding should become, or that process should be open probably next week, we hope. But please log on to that. And also, again, remember that they're providing free PPE as well. And could everyone mute if you're not speaking, please? Thanks.
Am I muted? Am I muted?
No.
Okay. Because this Zoom meeting has been a problem for me since day one, but in terms of getting in and being, but Mike Stroll is here in case anybody has any questions for me.
Mike, did you have any general updates that you wanted to share from the state's perspective?
Well, I missed part of it because I couldn't get in. So the only thing I know is PennDOT said they would give us seasonal permits to close streets. And we're still working on all the final details with the state, but I think I've been in contact with the governor's office to make sure that we aren't going to get thrown any loops like, oh yeah, you thought you were going to be able to do this, but now you can't, kind of thing.
Great. Thanks, Mike. So anyone, any other questions?
Looks like there's another question for Kim from Jennifer. When will traditional or typical health inspections begin, or when will health inspectors start visiting again?
Currently, I'm the only one in that capacity. So I have actually begun. I can't give you a specific timeline, but most of our inspections now are done on a yearly basis. So we will be seeing you soon.
There is a link that that we'd love for everyone who is considering doing this to take a survey, just so we can get an idea of who is interested in it. We know so far we have about 17 restaurants and eating establishments express interest in one form or another, participating and expanding their outdoor area. But regardless if you're ready to put in an application, we would love to hear from you. Just to know, just to gauge your interest in that. So please take a minute, actually 3 minutes, to complete the survey if you don't mind. And we'll send that out with this presentation and with the PLCB information as well.
Question for Mike Vagoda. Mike, is it possible for you to share? I know you shared the brief with us today that we'll distribute to all the parties on the call and additional restaurants. Are you able to share a link to the application as well?
The application will be is available in their PLCB Plus account. So all the licensees have an online account for our regulatory portal. They would just log in to their account and file the amendment application. It's not available in paper format. Since we're all online, everybody's just gonna have to log in and do their own.
That's very helpful. Thank you, Mike.
Great. All right, everyone. But if there are no other questions, please get your application in, and we hope to see a lot of outdoor dining this summer. Great. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marshall.
Thank you, Marshall.